GBNews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends, they're family.
They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening, you know what time it is, it's 9 o'clock, I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
Freaking cannabis farm?
No, gang.
Gang?
Yeah.
To sell drugs?
Drugs, fight, stab, shoot.
Yes, well, a bombshell indeed. New reports suggest weapons have been found in illegal migrant camps in France. How dangerous actually are these men? And while British people struggle to get jobs, you're not going to believe what the job seeker training budget is being spent on. Plus... It just gets worse and worse. The Archbishop of Canterbury has been over to visit a historic slave trade site that was shut down hundreds of years ago, of course, seemingly doing her best to keep the reparations row going for yet another 100 years plus.
But there is absolutely no evidence that the people who are sexually assaulting people are people seeking asylum.
Well, the Green Party in Lewisham are set to be the first party in authority to not assist police in immigration raids. And...
we'll be hitting them. We'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
The Iran war looks set to escalate to its most severe in months as President Trump threatens to bomb civilian infrastructure as talks with the terrorist regime have broken down. And
a huge thank you to the wonderful people of all the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester who have backed what we've been building here for many, many years.
Right, well, Labour has won the Greater Manchester mayoral election, and a pollster's going to be joining me to dissect why the right are possibly going to lose a general election. And joining me tonight is Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham and political commentators Emily Hewitson and Andy Twelves. Oh, and just reaching us, President Trump has made a new threat to the Iranian Ayatollah.
Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing.
And bing, 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 bang, bong. Here's your news with Bethany Elsey.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 9:02. The European Union will hold an emergency meeting on border security next week after tens of thousands of migrants fled over the border from Morocco to the Spanish territory of Ceuta. Most of the 60,000 migrants have since been returned and at least 67 people died in the surge. Spain's Prime Minister called the mass influx a violation of Spain's territorial integrity and has condemned Italy's decision to suspend the open border arrangements with Spain as selfish. Reform UK's Zia Youssef says Britain needs to protect its own borders.
That's what 60,000 looked like arriving on a single day. That's why it's so striking. We've had north of 200,000 arrive illegally on our beaches under Tory and Labour governments, albeit over a longer period, over 8 years. But that's not relevant to the risk and the danger. We know murderers have been coming across the channel. We know terrorists have not only come across the channel, but tried to commit terrorist atrocities in Britain. Britain needs to wake up. If we do not secure our borders, then we are going to see scenes like the ones that we have seen become, sadly, increasingly common.
UEFA has said the FIFA president has lost the confidence of the body over the plans to sell World Cup stakes to private investors. Overnight, Gianni Infantino cancelled the plans after 3 confederations rejected it. The Telegraph is reporting UEFA has given Infantino an ultimatum to either resign or face a no-confidence vote, with all 55 of its members saying they'd vote to oust him if he doesn't step down. At least 10 people have been killed and dozens more injured, including 4 children, after Russia launched a second huge attack on Ukraine's capital in the last 48 hours. President Volodymyr Zelensky says they were only able to intercept 1 of dozens of ballistic missiles, blaming a critical shortage of air defence systems, and has appealed for more support. Fires broke out at 18 residential buildings, a school and the Lithuanian embassy, with power outages also reported. Firefighters in Greece are battling wildfires from the outskirts of Athens to the island of Crete. Gale force winds have driven the flames through a seaside resort, forced hundreds to evacuate and hindered aircraft tackling the blaze. Europe has been ravaged by severe fires this summer after a period of successive record-breaking heat waves, with hundreds of thousands forced to flee their homes across France and Spain. But major fires there are being brought under control, with residents near Bordeaux being allowed to return home. And finally, some breaking news to bring you. The Prince of Wales has paid tribute to the former British Army and Royal Marines soldier Nirmal Purjar, who's died in an avalanche in Pakistan. The world-renowned climber was leading an expedition of 10 climbers on Broad Peak. That's the world's 12th highest mountain. 9 others were also killed. Prince William has said he's truly saddened to hear of his tragic death, adding he served with distinction before becoming one of the world's greatest mountaineers. Those are the latest headlines. Let's get back to Alex.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Guns have been seized from illegal migrant shanty camps in France. Well, French border force officials warned firearms are being discovered at an alarming rate in the illegal camps as criminal gangs and migrants behind the channel crossings are growing more violent. In the last 2 weeks alone, we've reported stories of the 3 women who miraculously all had a heart attack at the same time on a dinghy coming to Britain, as if anyone with an IQ over 20 is actually going to believe that one. We also haven't heard any more about the alleged migrant murderers who also have stabbed, allegedly, another migrant to death on a beach in France before jumping on a mega dinghy. This is the reality now, though, isn't it? More and more dangerous, undocumented men with no regard for human life are making their way to Britain, organised by violent criminals. And the reports show this is becoming quite severe and it's increasing. Yet French police paid more than £1 billion of taxpayers' money from this country just stand around and watch. We know that because they admitted it to Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp.
Our order is to let them go like that.
Your order is to let them go?
We just have to say to them, don't do that, it's dangerous.
Let me just repeat that. Their order is to let them go. We just have to say to them, don't do that, it's dangerous. Right. Sounds like a deterrent to me, doesn't it? Well, that day, 752 people crossed the Channel, the busiest day of the year so far. More than 13,000 have arrived in 2026 so far. But the Home Office is very keen to continue gaslighting you with misinformation. They claim they've sent 70,000 people who were here illegally deported or removed. They've sent them home, apparently. Well, let me just correct them. 75%, around 50,700, were voluntary returns. Of all of those 70,000 mentioned, only 4% were small boat migrants. So that response they've put out in response to Chris Philp's video is gaslighting. Do not gaslight the people of this country. We will correct you. And somehow you're making it out like you're deporting small boat illegals. We all know you aren't. Most of them are staying here in Britain, probably forever at this rate. But what does the new Prime Minister Andy Burnham think of it all?
What they have done is firstly keep the current Home Secretary in place because the plan she has implemented has started to make a difference. Although this is the peak period of the year for crossings, overall the number of crossings is down.
Is it, Andy? Is the plan working? Because in his first week in office, small boat arrivals are up 37% versus his former Prime Minister Keir Starmer in his first week in office. It won't be long at this rate until this is all dubbed Andy's Armada in the national headlines if he continues to lead the same way that Starmer did and bury his head in the sand. Let's get the thoughts of my panel on this one. Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham and political commentators Emily Hewitson and Andy Twelves. Layla, I'll start with you. I mean, look, the Chris Philp footage, it didn't come as a surprise to me because we've seen this all before, haven't we? We've seen the gendarmes on the beaches of France basically standing there with a cigarette and a baguette and going, oh, what do I do? You know, we've seen them refuse to go and get into the water to stop the boats. And in some respects, I don't blame them. If I was French, I'd probably want them to come to our country and be rid of them, right? I don't blame them whatsoever. However, we are paying them £1 billion to do this job.
And we're suckers for doing so. You know, it's not in their interest to stop it. £1 billion is not that much in this day and age, the way our government spends. But you hit the nail on the head in your report. These are dangerous men. And you're going to get people like Andy who say they're not all dangerous. Sure, Andy, they're not all dangerous. But even if 1 or 2 or 10 of them are, that is enough for me out of 100 because we don't have an effective filtering system. So some just murdered women and they've just arrived here back on our shores. The IRGC was boasting about getting terrorists into the country, the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, I'm just waiting for a national disaster because how many sleeper cells do we have? And it's interesting because I don't know if you saw the EU said that they were very angry with the president of Spain for allowing illegal migrants to be able to work. I think he gave them amnesty and they literally said, we shouldn't incentivise illegal migrants. And I'm like, what? That's exactly what we're doing. We're incentivising illegal migrants because they are giving. Once you give someone a reason to come, they will come.
All right, Andy, I'll pass it straight over to you then. What did you make of that? I mean, you've seen it. We've been talking about this for goodness knows how many years. I think the shocking stuff sometimes I feel is that when you see the Prime Minister say the plan is working, do appreciate migrant arrivals are down on the year, but his first week in office compared to Keir Starmer, they're up 37%. And I think the problem is good weather sometimes has a massive impact on arrivals. We've had a mixed bag the last year. They are now coming thick and fast with this latest bout of good weather. Do you think the Prime Minister's burying his head in the sand a little bit?
No, I don't think he is. I think, he's had 2 weeks on the job. He's had to speak about every single policy area. This is one of them. He's also spoken about defence. He's spoken about interactions with Ukraine. He's spoken about travel. He's spoken about devolution. I think he's given a fair amount of time to each issue because, it is only, the end of week 2 and we are in recess, so we don't have a parliamentary sitting, so MPs can't scrutinise him like that.
The issue when polled by YouGov did a poll, I think, not
a couple of days ago. Yeah, I saw it.
And it is the top issue. So you think, right, 12 days in, it's the first time we spoke about it. Do you think he might have just made a bit of bigger effort to maybe address it?
The cost of living in NHS were very close behind it as well, to be fair to it. I think on this, I don't just listen to the Prime Minister saying that this is getting better and, arrivals are down. I listen to GB News because I think they're the ultimate authority on this. Your security editor, Mark White, revered Mark White, admitted that the plan to smash the gangs was actually working. It wasn't just down to the weather, that the long-term approach with the French government and the central French government, not just the police, was actually working.
Can I just push back on that? How many arrests have we had for Smash the Gangs?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I trust Mark White. I trust the revered GB News Home Security editor, Mark White. He's my source on this.
For sure, but I can guarantee if it was a big number, you'd know.
Well, because they would French arrests, I suppose,
but they would brag about it. They would say our corporation, our 1 in, 1 out, it's working, and it's not.
Well, let me put this to you, Emily.
And also, just quickly,
go on.
Andy Burnham says numbers are down. Nobody wants it controlled. We want it stopped. I don't care if it's down.
They've got to go down eventually.
No, I want it
It is a long-term issue.
No, it's not going to incrementally go down for the next 10 years. I want it abruptly stopped. And I think that's what people expect.
Even if Reform UK were to get in, it wouldn't be abruptly stopped because your plan is to leave the ECHR. That would take years to do.
Emily,
absolutely would.
Let me bring Emily in. Emily, look, I think the difficulty people have is that I do think they will agree with Labour and say they want it stopped. And actually what people will say is there are some quick solutions to this. Deploy the Royal Navy, push the boats back. I know those are complicated as well. They aren't just so straightforward. There would be a lot of international problems with that. But do you think that the Labour Party wants to get on top of this issue quickly? Do you think the Prime Minister's Andy Burnham is going to get on top of this faster than anybody else?
No, to be honest. I think we've had successive governments constantly say that this is an issue that they're going to sort or going to solve, and it doesn't happen. I think the number one job of any government is to keep citizens safe, and by allowing this problem to continue, they are simply not doing that. We need to put far more money into defence, less into welfare, and I just think it's been, for years, we've been called racist, we've been told that we're demonising migrants for, just saying that there are concerns about bringing in large amount of largely men that are completely undocumented, that do not have any documentation to prove who they are, and we've been demonised for that, and we've been shown time and time again that our concerns were perfectly valid. And how many British citizens is it going to take to be victims of crime from these men for the government to actually take this issue seriously?
People will say British people commit crimes. That's their argument.
Yeah, but we have enough
You're doing the balance for me here. I love that. That's great. You're doing that.
We don't need to import more.
My job is fantastic.
So let me put this to you, Andy. Let me put this to you because I think what we are seeing, and I do think some of the things that the money invested into it is paying off. I don't think it's paying off in the numbers that people want it to, and I think the Prime Minister is going to have to go further. But what we're now seeing is the people who are the most dangerous still making the journey, right? We're seeing, and this is kind of reflected, in my opinion, in the reports we're getting out of France, in the violence we're seeing on the boats coming over before they arrive here, like those 3 women who miraculously had a heart attack at the same time, which I think the odds are something like 300 million to 1, which is crazy. So something's gone on there. We saw a stabbing in the boats not that long before that. So I think perhaps as a result of this massive crackdown, we're now getting the most dangerous people who are still willing to make that journey. Do you think the government needs to do more to actually monitor these people before we let them into wider society, like, the army barracks were allowed to wander freely?
I think you do have to have a more serious conversation about the way we detain people. I do. I don't think we should be putting them up in prisons or in army barracks. I think they should be given humane conditions.
Would you let them out into the British public? Humane?
Oh, I think, well, they're not going to be put in prisons. They'll be put in these kind of makeshift army barracks that have either been, left for soldiers or abandoned for a couple of years. Like, I think there has to be a...
There's plenty of homeless people in Britain, though.
I know there are plenty of homeless people.
don't even have a home.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean,
British people be homeless on our street.
Well, I think, as Andy Burnham proved when he was mayor of Greater Manchester, you can create, a spot for every rough sleeper in the country, but a lot of them just won't come. This idea of,
well, we're giving... doubled under him?
It didn't double.
It did.
Not rough sleeping. Not rough sleeping.
Rough sleeping.
Homelessness.
From 2022 until now, it doubled.
Homelessness did, not rough sleeping.
Well,
which is quite different.
Would your party detain these men permanently, as in like not allow them out to the public? Because what happens right now is after they've gone through a week or so of this little vetting period, they get put into an army barracks or an HMO or something akin to that at this point in time. And I think that's where the danger now lies. We're getting more of the most dangerous people coming over now, making the journey. We're seeing the boats actually not as full, but I think they're full of more dangerous people as a result of that.
Well, the thing is, we don't know, right? And the fact that the government does not know if these men are terrorists, rapists, killers, that unknown presents such a massive safety risk to the public. And any government who really wants to protect the people would take that risk into consideration when placing them. And the only way to mitigate that unknown risk is to detain them immediately so they are not free to go, and then to deport them and not allow them in. If you allow illegal migrants any kind of rights in this country, you are offering them a reward for crossing the channel illegally. They have to know that there is no chance of staying, and it will stop. And listen, Andy, I know you're so concerned for their welfare.
No, I think saying any kind of rights, I think, is silly. To
No,
say
I don't think
they shouldn't have any rights whatsoever.
Why?
So I can just go and kill them if I want.
No.
Because they don't have that right. Saying that they shouldn't have any rights is silly.
No, you're not allowed to kill someone. That's a crime.
Well, they don't have any rights. They've got no... saying that they should have no rights is...
No, they should not have any
silly.
rights under the law of this country. They should be detained and deported. And listen, otherwise, crime pays. We have a very strong... I don't know if it's called criminal motto. Crime should not pay. And in terms of illegal migration, boy, does it do.
Isn't it so ironic that I literally went on holiday to Spain last week? I had to give fingerprints, had to have my photo taken, and then we see videos of 40,000 men storming a Spanish territory, and we have no idea who they are. We need to completely remove...
Britain,
we need to complete... By the way, there was no queue, just saying. Anyway, we massively need to de-incentivize...
That's a good point. They weren't even queuing to get into Spain. I mean, I've queued for longer. I think that there's an argument to be made that the migration crisis is showing itself in different forms now, and I think actually the criminal gangs are getting much smarter. Do you think British intelligence has done enough to thwart these gangs? Because that's one thing we're just not seeing abating.
I mean, the thing is, we'll never know. Because it is British intelligence, so even if they are catching, hundreds of thousands of people, we will never know, because that's the point of the intelligence forces. So I think it is unfair to throw it onto them.
All right, look, we'll leave it there. The Home Office has said that it was deeply saddened to hear of the deaths, and said it was a stark reminder of the dangers posed by criminal gangs exploiting vulnerable people for profit. The spokesman added this: "We will continue working relentlessly with the French and our partners overseas to prevent these perilous journeys." And Home Office source said the crossings were becoming increasingly dangerous because people smugglers were being forced to launch boats further and further south. They added this: "We're seeing the smugglers amend their tactics to get around this, and it's because French law enforcement is having a much higher success rate." All right then, look, time now for a Great British giveaway. It's your chance to win 60 grand in tax-free cash and a 5 grand gold bar. Here's all the details.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our Golden Summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, good luck, everybody. Coming up.
But there is absolutely no evidence that the people who are sexually assaulting people are people seeking asylum.
Well, the Green Party in Lewisham are set to be the party in authority to not assist police in immigration raids. But before that, the Archbishop of Canterbury has doubled down on plans to pay 100 million quid in slavery reparations to African countries. I've got a fantastic head-to-head for you on that one next.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the Archbishop of Canterbury's got off to a great start, hasn't she? Because she's doubled down on controversial proposals to pay 100 million quid in slavery reparations to African countries, vowing to repent for the Church of England's colonial past. Where did Dame Sarah Malali make the comments? Well, that was on a visit to a slave castle in Ghana, of course. Look at that, it's a good package holiday, that one, isn't it? The Archbishop said touring the castle made her reflect on the many crimes committed by the church, spurring her on to secure support for those communities that feel the legacy of the slave trade. So tonight we thought we would ask, Should other institutions and even the Church of England follow her lead on reparations? Well, I'm pleased to say I'm now joined by barrister Stephen Barrett and anti-racism campaigner Iman Ayton. Thank you both very much. Before we start, though, we have got some new ground rules for debates on this show. Both of you have got 60 seconds to lay out your argument and or respond to the other person in this debate. I'll let you know when you have 10 seconds left, and after that, your microphone will be cut off, and I will hand it over to the other person. So we've got strict rules. Steve, sorry if it sounds a little bit much, but we're trying to be better with our timings on this one. Stephen, I'm going to start with you. Your 60 seconds to lay out your reasons start now.
Well, both Jesus and the Bible teach that children are not responsible for the sins of their parents. They're not responsible for the sins of the father. We are actually some generations removed from slavery, so it's not even the sins of our fathers that we're being allegedly held accountable for. But we're not accountable for these, and that is core Christian teaching. Okay, Britain ought to be proud of temporarily ending slavery. I'm afraid slavery is back across the world, and we no longer run the world, so that the world is how it is. And the church should be proud of its history in that process. Christianity was always going to be against slavery. It was popular with freed slaves in the latter Roman Empire. That's how it came to prominence. It's an anti-slavery religion. So the church should fundamentally not be getting involved in this. Okay. But it's very troubling that the Archbishop of Canterbury doesn't understand basic Christian teaching. That's absolutely shocking. I'm worried that our Archbishop is being consumed by Marxist ideology and is not even Christian anymore.
OK, that was perfect timing, actually. Iman, I'll pass it straight over to you for your 60 seconds. Fire away.
Yes, so the Church of England is literally working off of evidence, qualitative evidence from 500 years ago. So just so you know, the Church of England wasn't always anti-slavery. In actual fact, firstly, the Church of England contributed, or rather they were complicit in regards to the creation and promotion of the slave Bible, which was the whittling down of the King James Bible, which was served to pacify, control and justify slavery, and also show how slavery was compatible to Christianity. And then what happened is in the 18th century, the Church of England decided they were going to become woke. And they ended up with many Anglicans and evangelicals decided they were going to have their own abolitionist movement within the church itself to end slavery. So it started way back then, and they'll continue on the same trajectory. And the reason why they're doing it currently right now, like I said, 500 years of evidence, starting from the Bible, starting from the Bible, and then we've also got the fact that there is continued racism in the church today. So there's a lot of evidence.
Spot on timing. Back to you, Stephen, 60 seconds.
So 500 years ago is 1526, and the Church of England didn't exist. So I just find all of this nonsense really rather confusing. Let's just go back to the basics. We are not are not responsible for the sins of the Father. That is the absolute central tenet of Christ's teaching. The fact that the Archbishop of Canterbury doesn't know that is extremely troubling. Our Archbishop of Canterbury is not obviously Christian. And what I would say is that £100 million is an awful lot of money to all those churches that are crumbling and falling down. And that the duty of the Archbishop and the church commissioners is a legally binding duty. I think she feels free to act this way because Marxist ideology is currently popular. It's currently still remains in the ascendancy. I don't think that will last much longer. And I think that both the Archbishop and the church commissioners should be aware that their legal duties are this money is held on trust. It's not theirs. They don't just spaff it on what they want. Okay, they have binding legal duties that will come to bite them in the coming years.
OK, Stephen. So, Iman, I'll put this over to you. There's a claim that the Church of England are not Christian, or at least the Archbishop of Canterbury is not Christian at this point in time, for the Marxist ideology. What do you make of those arguments? I'll let you run away with it.
Thank you. Well, first of all, the Church of England invested 700 million in today's money into the South Sea Company, which transported enslaved Africans, and they actually made a profit of approximately 400 million in today's money. And so the 100 million that they're offering is a very small amount. It's like a dot in the ocean. Secondly, in terms of them not necessarily knowing their roots, their origin in terms of Christianity, well, ironically, they're actually leading with their guiding principles, which include to respond to human need with loving service, one of their 5 marks, and the second one being to seek to transform unjust structures. So they are literally governed by their very foundation of Christianity. And I find it quite absurd that you would be against the Church of England, which is representative of treat those how you wish to be treated, and look after thy neighbour and more. You have a problem with them deciding they are going to use a fund, their own money, not taxpayers' money, their own fund, and
10 seconds.
support communities that have been affected as a result of their contribution over the last 500 years. I think you are very sick as an individual if you think that that is problematic for all institutions, but most particularly the Church of England, which is all about Christianity and love. That's a bit sad, sir.
It's not their money, and they hold that money on trust to look after the churches. A lot of what was claimed to be Christian teaching is not Christian teaching, which leads me to believe that Marxism has infected the Church of England, and it is a toxic and poisonous ideology, and it won't last much longer. So to those church commissioners who might be listening, you will face liability in the future. I think the Archbishop, I'm afraid, is not a Christian.
What do you mean by Marxism? Sorry, may I just ask, forgive me for interrupting you. I did hear your last point. I do hope everyone else did. What do you mean by Marxism? Because you said it several times here, and obviously I know it's associated with woke, but could you just be clear so we're all on the same page?
It's associated with woke because it is woke. It's the teachings of Marx.
Yes,
if you'd like to go and educate yourself, you do feel free.
Oh, Stephen, but in fact, I'm here to educate you, sir, because you're clearly missing some important nuance. They've actually been woke since the 18th and 19th century, like I said, because the Church of England, ironically, you spoke earlier about your pride in terms of Brits and speaking about ending the slave trade. Well, Anglicans and evangelicals from the Church of England definitely contributed to that as a result of their wokeness that kicked in after the slave Bible, right? So they kind of felt bad, and then they decided, right, we're going to sort out our act in the 18th and 19th century, and they've continued on that same trajectory. So they're not doing anything new. What is woke is ending the transatlantic slave trade. What is woke is making sure that you look after those individuals that you ended up profiting off of, while simultaneously trying to pacify them with a smaller version of the Bible. That's woke. Woke started in the 18th century.
Let's let Stephen come back to all of that now. Okay, Iman, let's let Stephen come back to all of that. Go on, Stephen.
Just so we know, what's not Christian is the sins of the father, and pretending that we are liable for what happened in the past.
Iman, let Stephen come back. Let Stephen come back.
It's the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I'm a Christian, so for me it's quite a powerful argument. Her Grace the Archbishop appears not to have understood the teachings of Christ, and I'm not convinced she is Christian. That money is held on trust. It's very important to remember that money is held on trust. Our churches are crumbling, and it should not be given away on political causes like this. It will achieve no good. We should fix our churches with our money and not worry about nonsense.
It's not a political cause. There's current evidence, their own evidence. In fact, there's actually been 40 years of most recent evidence in regards to racial abuse. So there's been 25 reports stemming over 40 years since the 1980s up until today that proves over 160 recommendations, ironically, that many of which have not been implemented, that highlights racial abuse within the church itself. So what you're arguing, sir, is that the Church of England shouldn't be the very Church of England that stopped abuse 500 years ago. They shouldn't do it now, even though they have actual evidence, qualitative evidence, right, from 25 reports in the last 40 years that says, oh, there's a lot of racial abuse towards black people in the church. But no, you with your Christian self, you would think, don't rectify that issue. Okay. That's why I said you are a poor, sad Christian.
All right, let's let Stephen come back to that. Go on, Stephen.
I'm very happy to be a poor, sad Christian, and I'm very happy to account many black people amongst me as a fellow Christian. So I just think that this Marxist nonsense has gone on for far too long. If there's £100 million, we need to spend it on repairing our churches. The Archbishop has lost her way, and I will pray for her.
All right, you two, we've got Iman. I have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Thank you very much for talking about that. A very fiery debate there. Barrister Stephen Barrett and anti-racism campaigner Iman Ayton. Right, what did you think of that? Let me know on gbnews.com/yours. I'll read some of your comments out in the next segment. But coming up, while British people struggle to get jobs, you're not going to believe what the job seeker training budget is being spent on. Trust me, you really won't believe it. But next, all 6 Green-led councils in London are going to resist Home Office raids on illegal migrants. We're going to talk about that with my panel.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, after a few showers in the north on Saturday, Sunday promises to be a fine day for most. Lots of hazy sunshine and it will be feeling much warmer for most of us. We saw a few showers courtesy of this area of low pressure on Saturday, but otherwise we've got rising pressure as we go into Sunday, so very few ice bars on the chart, meaning lighter winds. Now, at about this evening, plenty of late sunshine for England and Wales. The showers across Scotland will also become increasingly confined to the very far northeast as we go through the night. So it will turn quite chilly in the countryside, particularly across England and Wales, where we might even see a touch of frost in rural parts of Wales and the Midlands. Temperatures in the towns and cities, though, largely holding up into the low teens. Further north, there'll be a bit more of a breeze still across more northern parts of Scotland, and that breeze will bring in still a fair number of showers to Shetland and Orkney. Otherwise, though, many parts of Scotland will begin the day on Sunday with a mixture of sunny spells and cloud, but largely dry. Hazy sunshine for Northern Ireland with the cloud thickening through the morning, but most of England and Wales starting off with blue skies, apart from one or two mist and fog patches which will quickly clear in the countryside. And then we're set for a fine day for many parts of the UK, one or two showers in the very far northeast of Scotland, and the cloud perhaps just thickening sufficiently to bring one or two spots of rain for Northern Ireland and the west of Wales by the end of the afternoon. But with that hazy sunshine, it is set to be a warmer day for most of us on Sunday. Temperatures widely in the mid-20s across England, eastern parts of Wales, and perhaps close to 30 degrees Celsius in the southeast of England. But it is set to turn more changeable overnight into Monday. Monday sees an area of rain pushing northwards across Scotland, possibly bringing some quite prolonged and useful amounts of rainfall to the east. Some scattered showers developing elsewhere too, possibly in England and Wales as well. One or two thunderstorms perhaps by the evening, and certainly a chance of some slightly heavier showers and a more humid and hot feel for many as we go through Monday and Tuesday before it turns cooler midweek.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, you all love that one in your say, didn't you? That debate there. I would read some comments now, but I don't think they're TV friendly at this point in time. Anyway, let's get on to our next story, because Green-led councils across London are now refusing to cooperate with Home Office immigration raids, saying they will not assist enforcement action against people living and working in Britain illegally. Well, some are also pledging to collaborate with a protest group which organises mass community resistance, encouraging crowds to surround Home Office vans as they transfer detained migrants. Sounds a little bit like what's going on in America, doesn't it? The Mayor of Hackney, Zoe Garbett, plans to appoint a migrant champion to her team. She said this: "We refuse to be complicit in the hostile environment that puts migrants, our neighbours, loved ones, members of our community, in justifiable fear of being detained, deported or separated from their families. Well, the Home Office insists the policy will not prevent enforcement activity, arguing raids remain vital to tackling illegal working and abuse of the immigration system. I've got my panel back in the room here. You know what, Andy, let's start with you on this one, because like, this is becoming a little bit reminiscent to me of, like, scenes we saw of, like, Democrats, probably the best way to put them, actually, Democrats in America when it comes to ICE deportations. What do you think of what the Greens are planning to do here?
I'm not a Green Party member, but I can understand what they're saying. They're saying that they're not going to have their own councils, enforcement officers, people who are paid for by the council, not by the Home Office, helping out the Home Office. That's what they mean by the end of cooperation. Like, they're not going to send enforcement officers to go and scrap Home Office deportation officers in the street. They're just going to end the use of council staff to cooperate with those and, you know, aid those deportation raids. And, you know, I think a lot of the scenes you saw that actually, I was just looking at it before, a lot of scenes in the source story that prompted this conversation, you know, a lot of them are really, really painful to see people from your community ripped out by, you know, people in masks and all the rest of it. So, you know, I can really empathise with a lot of what they feel. Like, if you're ripping away your neighbours, people are probably going to be quite upset about it, to be honest.
I'll come to you in a second, Lily, but Emily, what do you make of this?
Well, these are people that are clearly breaking the law, and there needs to be punishment for people that come here illegally. They talk about creating a hostile environment, but I'd actually argue that this makes a hostile environment for people that have come here via illegal route. And these people are often being exploited as well in certain workplaces. And like, even if we take out all of the other arguments about immigration and we just look at a numbers game, it is clearly not sustainable with the resources that we have to keep allowing thousands and thousands of people through. And you often see that it's actually Green councillors who are constantly opposing new developments.
Layla?
I didn't know we had immigration raids. I mean, I read that, like, I think it's 1 in 6, even if your asylum claim is refused, you're not removed. What are these immigration raids they're talking about? I think it's just people working illegally. Listen, it might be a hostile environment for illegal migrants, but it's also a hostile environment for the people that elected the Green councillors. And they expect that their council money be used appropriately to keep them safe.
Well, they are. You know, they're saving council money because they're not sending council officers to go and do the Home Office's job for them.
And
you know, if we're really making a Doge argument here.
No, they're not. Who's paying for the illegal migrants to live? Their council house, if they're on benefits.
Well, illegal migrants don't get housing benefits, but that's by the by. From the, you know, you said about the house.
So you say that, but they are housed until their claim is considered. And
well, these aren't. I think you're conflating two ideas here. These aren't people who are asylum seekers who have come across. They haven't come across the boats. These are people who are here illegally because their visa is expired or they overstayed a tourism visa. These aren't, you know, the boat people. This is a completely different group of people. Well, I can tell you because, you know, you didn't even know we had deportation raids in this country. I remember I was actually on this show with you. I remember being on the show. Shabana Mahmood did this awful video where she was it was just after she'd been made Home Secretary, and she did this awful video where she was ripping out people and saying we're deporting illegal migrants, people who are working here illegally, and it's women who are working in nail shops. So these aren't the great threats of our society who, you know, people make out are coming across. They're not coming across the channel. They're not, you know, harming our communities. These are exploited people.
But they are harming our communities.
They're not harming our communities. They're exploited people.
Let's let Emily. Guys, let's let Emily hear. Let's Emily.
You constantly criticise what Shabana Mahmood has done, for example. But what do you actually think is an appropriate response then? Because clearly it's completely unsustainable and unfair on people that are working legally and paying the correct taxes, etc. What do you think is the appropriate response to people that are here completely illegally and exploiting our system?
I think people who have been exploited, you know, potentially human trafficked and working in nail shops are not the big enemy of our society, and we should probably, you know, go and support them, not rip them off and detain them, to be honest. No, I think we should be supporting them. I think we should be.
More people will come across, because that's a massive
no, so this isn't the boats.
Yes, but
nail women are not coming here over the boats. Come on.
But it could encourage more people because you think, oh, you can be here illegally.
I think you're conflating two issues.
What it could do, and I'll put this to you later, what it could do is incentivise more people to have the dodgy visa scheme, come over as students and stay illegally, or come over on these terrible visas, which we've seen, like the nail bar visas, which have been illegal working. Right, so it could encourage that. I think that's probably fair to say, right? It could encourage more of those people to do that.
In Lewisham, this is one number.
But what does this say? What does this say? I'll put this. I'll let Layla put it to you.
You know, in England, in London, we house the largest amount of asylum seekers in hotels and in council estates, and Lewisham is a sanctuary borough.
These aren't about asylum seekers. Yeah. This is not about asylum seekers. The deportation raids are not over asylum seekers. That's a completely different process.
No, it is. Have you read the article?
Yes, I have. I can promise you I have.
Because if you're an overstayer, the way you change that visa, you seek asylum. So they become asylum seekers if they're an overstayer.
This isn't about, you know, boat migrants. You're trying to conflate. You are trying to conflate it. You are. are trying to conflate
How do you know? Because, by the way,
Emily Hewitson is definitely trying to conflate the two.
All right, one at a time, come on.
A boat migrant becomes an asylum seeker once they apply for asylum, and they are talking about asylum seekers. They're talking about people whose claims have been rejected and are meant to be deported as a result. But now, 1 in 6 people are deported once their claim is rejected. So there's not that many raids going on. And also, you say they don't have access to public funds. We're going to hear later in this great story that they actually get free English lessons. But also, we have a duty under the ECHR or the Refugee Convention not to keep them destitute. So they are housed. At the same time as they're housed in Lewisham, which is a sanctuary borough, we have the highest number of veterans who sleep rough. Who do you think the council should prioritise? Because right now, who goes to the top of the housing list? It's those migrants, those illegal migrants, or those refugee claimants.
All right, let me get back to the crux of the story on this particular issue again. Just pass this to you, Emily, because the Green Party is saying they're not going to comply or help. They might even help the community resistance, is what's been quoted in this report, in order of pushing back or at least frustrating immigrant raids, right? Illegal migrant raids. What do you think of that?
Exactly. It's not just a case of the fact that they're no longer going to support the Home Office, as they claim. They're actually saying that they're going to be involved in movements that prevent the Home Office doing their rightful duty and their rightful job in order to keep the British population safe.
All right, look, well, we'll leave it there for now. Coming up on the show, while British people are struggling to find work, and I think Layla's already alluded to it, there are some crazy, that's all right, there's some crazy things going on for the people who are getting that job seeker training and where that budget is actually being spent. But next, President Trump has accused Tehran of lying and breaking its promises, as reports suggest he's planning on the biggest bombing campaign of the conflict so far. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, and that is next.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
This is really exciting. We've got 1 million people living with dementia in this country, and about 65%, 70% of them have Alzheimer's disease. This is a condition where a protein called amyloid beta builds up in plaques within the brain and interferes with the connection of nerve cells. It's a cruel disease, as I know you're aware. It robs families of the relative that they once loved, the personality that they knew, and it's the leading cause of death in this country. So numbers are only increasing as the aging population grows. But here we have in phase 3 clinical trials, which is the last stage of trials before a regulatory body approves it for use, which appears to clear some of these plaques within a few weeks. Now that's really exciting.
GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
What does this kind of day mean to you, kind of coming and doing this every year?
Well, I feel that I'm doing this for my wife, because she used to sell poppies properly, really, and I used to help her for 20 odd years. And I feel like I'm doing it for her, really. But it is nice to think that everybody appreciate what we did for being in the forces.
But tell me about your service, because you got sent out to the Far East, didn't you?
Yes. I just got engaged because I didn't think I was going to get called up, but then I did.
In your jacket here, you've got one medal for national service and one for that Hong Kong medal for that.
To be honest, I was 18 years old. And I was very excited about going. It was an adventure to me.
The People's Channel. Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Weight loss jabs could help children as young as 6 who are living with obesity. When did we start saying living with obesity? Can we not say obese children? Is that not politically correct? Well, delighted to be joined now by Sarah LeBrock, Director of All About Obesity. Sarah, I think a lot of people will feel slightly uneasy about children getting on these jabs, simply because we sort of expect, I don't know, diets to be managed by parents.
Yeah, I can totally understand why people would think that. But the point we're not talking about just overweight children here. We're talking about children living with obesity. And interestingly, you say, why do we say living with obesity? It's because they're living with a chronic condition.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, President Donald Trump is planning the harshest bombing campaign of the war so far in a bid to finally break Tehran's resolve. That's what reports are suggesting tonight. Trump was asked yesterday whether he trusted Iran.
I'm losing faith in them because they do lie and they do misrepresent.
And he was also asked what action could look like.
We'll be hitting them. We'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
Well, joining me now is British-Iranian activist Halle Blake. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I really do appreciate it. Now, look, we have seen quite a lot of reports now suggesting that Trump is going to escalate the war, possibly to its highest extent since earlier this year. What does that mean for Iran? And do you welcome this latest potential campaign?
Look, we knew when the negotiations started that this wasn't going to last very long. This is a regime that's lying to its core. It doesn't hold the same values as the rest of the free world. So we knew these negotiations will come to a halt or see problems later down the line, which is what we're seeing. So President Trump, whether you like him or not, he's absolutely right. They can't be trusted. They have never delivered any of their promises in the past 47 years. So right now, these negotiations are the same. The Iranians are embracing and waiting to see what happens. They welcomed the intervention. They saw it as a help to free Iran. That sentiment still carries on, and as activists, we're still protesting. And whilst they're executing those protesters from January in Iran, so the crackdowns are still happening inside Iran, and is not going to change. This regime must be toppled, and the Iranians are not taking this regime any longer, and the nature of it has become really apparent to the neighbors also. They may have tolerated the regime to this point, but no one is tolerating. And they all know in order to have a literally freedom and peace and prosperity in the Middle East, Islamic Republic must go.
Halle, as well, the IRGC, which I think is a terrorist organisation, I've been saying that for a very, very long time, that runs Iran and runs the regime that's going on now. They're very deeply entrenched, aren't they, within Iran, and they're very spread out now, given that there's no real leadership anymore. We don't even know if the Ayatollah is even alive, the new one. Do you think there'll have to be a ground invasion at some point in order to free the Iranian people?
Look, the boots on the ground are the Iranian, and the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has a plan, and he's building networks, and the boots on the ground should be the Iranian people. So what could be done from the outside is really enabling the Iranians to deliver, because we want this regime toppled more than anyone else. So, helping with internet, supporting the activities, and actually really carrying persistent messaging helps defections. We saw some really strong defections at the beginning of this, and that really needs to carry through, and that will essentially crack down and break the IRGC.
I certainly hope so, Halle. Very, very briefly, have you got family in Iran? Are you worried about their safety?
I've got 90 million family. I've got friends, and one of my friends is in line for execution for insulting Adam and Eve.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. It's incredible. And any chance that they might escape the regime?
Well, I hope we topple them before they get executed, and that's what we're working for. And we're raising awareness, and we really need the West to really wake up. And it's not just about Iran, it's about the UK as well. They're embedded into our society here. So when we fight for the freedom of Iran, but we're also fighting for our values in the UK. And I don't think that comes across as much as we really hope to.
Halle, and I wish you all the best and love to your friends and family in Iran as well. Thanks for joining me tonight. Coming up next on the show, while British people struggle for jobs, you're not going to believe what the job seeker training budget is being spent on. That's coming up next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there again, and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, after a few showers in the north on Saturday, Sunday promises to be a fine day for most. Lots of hazy sunshine, and it will be feeling much warmer for most of us. We saw a few showers courtesy of this area of low pressure on Saturday, but otherwise we've got rising pressure as we go into Sunday, so very few ice bars on the chart, meaning lighter winds. Now, out and about this evening, plenty of late sunshine for England and Wales. The showers across Scotland will also become increasingly confined to the very far northeast as we go through the night, so it will turn quite chilly in the countryside, particularly across England and Wales, where we might even see a touch of frost in rural parts of Wales and the Midlands. Temperatures in the towns and cities, though, largely holding up into the low teens. Further north, there'll be a bit more of a breeze still across more northern parts of Scotland, and that breeze will bring in still a fair number of showers to Shetland and Orkney. Otherwise, though, many parts of Scotland will begin the day on Sunday with a mixture of sunny spells and cloud, but largely dry. Hazy sunshine for Northern Ireland with the cloud thickening through the morning, but most of England and Wales starting off with blue skies, apart from one or two mist and fog patches which will quickly clear in the countryside. And then we're set for a fine day for many parts of the UK, one or two showers in the very far northeast of Scotland, and the cloud perhaps just thickening sufficiently to bring one or two spots of rain for Northern Ireland and the west of Wales by the end of the afternoon. But with that hazy sunshine, it is set to be a warmer day for most of us on Sunday. Temperatures widely in the mid-20s across England, eastern parts of Wales, and perhaps close to 30 degrees Celsius in the southeast of England. But it is set to turn more changeable overnight into Monday. Monday sees an area of rain pushing northwards across Scotland, possibly bringing some quite prolonged and useful amounts of rainfall to the east. Some scattered showers developing elsewhere too, possibly in England and Wales as well. One or two thunderstorms perhaps by the evening, and certainly a chance of some slightly heavier showers and a more humid and hot feel for many as we go through Monday and Tuesday before it turns cooler midweek.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight...
Working cannabis farm?
No, gang.
Gang?
Yeah.
To sell drugs?
Drugs, fight, stab, shoot.
Well, there are bombshell reports about weapons being found in illegal migrant camps in France. I'm going to tell you what the weapons are and how dangerous these men might be. And while British people struggle for jobs, you're not going to believe what the job seeker training budget is being spent on. Also...
We'll be hitting them. We'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
Well, the world is bracing itself because the Iran war is set to escalate to its most severe in months as President Trump threatens to bomb civilian infrastructure. That's as talks with the terrorist regime, the IRGC, broke down. I'm going to bring you any updates this evening if we hear them. And
a huge thank you to the wonderful people of all the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester who have backed what we've been building here for many, many years.
Well, as Labour win the Greater Manchester mayoral election, a pollster's going to be joining me to dissect why the right are probably going to lose a general election. And we're going to be bringing you all of Sunday's front pages. The Mail is leading with this striking image here, a migrant gasping for life, a Spanish enclave gripped by fear. And joining me tonight, Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham and political commentators Emily Hewitson and Andy Twelves. Oh, and President Trump has just confirmed he's been in contact with extraterrestrial life, perhaps.
Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing.
And bing, 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 bong. Here's your news with Bethany Elsey.
Alex, thank you very much. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2 minutes past 10. The European Union will hold an emergency meeting on border security next week after tens of thousands of migrants fled over the border from Morocco to the Spanish territory of Ceuta. Most of the 60,000 migrants have since been returned. At least 67 people died in the surge. Spain's Prime Minister called the mass influx a violation of Spain's territorial integrity and condemned Italy's decision to suspend the open border arrangements with Spain as selfish. Well, Reform's UK's Zia Youssef says Britain needs to protect its own borders.
That's what 60,000 looked like arriving on a single day. That's why it's so striking. We've had north of 200,000 arrive illegally on our beaches under Tory and Labour governments, albeit over a longer period, over 8 years. But that's not relevant to the risk and the danger. We know murderers have been coming across the channel. We know terrorists have not only come across the channel, but tried to commit terrorist atrocities in Britain. Britain needs to wake up. If we do not secure our borders, then we are going to see scenes like the ones that we have seen become, sadly, increasingly common.
UEFA says the FIFA president has lost the confidence of the body over his plans to sell World Cup stakes to private investors. Overnight, Gianni Infantino cancelled the plans after 3 confederations rejected it. The Telegraph is reporting UEFA has given Infantino an ultimatum to either resign or face a no-confidence vote, with all 55 of its members saying they'd vote to oust him if he doesn't step down. At least 10 people have been killed and dozens more injured, including 4 children, after Russia launched a second huge attack on Ukraine's capital in the last 48 hours. President Volodymyr Zelensky says they were only able to intercept 1 of dozens of ballistic missiles, blaming a critical shortage of air defence systems, and has appealed for more support. Fires broke out in 18 residential buildings, a school and the Lithuanian embassy. Firefighters in Greece are battling wildfires from the outskirts of Athens to the island of Crete. Gale force winds have driven the flames through a seaside resort, forced hundreds to evacuate and hindered aircraft tackling the blaze. Europe has been ravaged by severe fires this summer after a period of successive record-breaking heat waves, with hundreds of thousands forced to flee their homes across France and Spain. But major fires there are being brought under control, with residents near Bordeaux being allowed to return home. And the Prince of Wales has paid tribute to the former British Army and Royal Marine soldier Nirmal Purja, who's died in an avalanche in Pakistan. The world-renowned climber was leading an expedition of 10 climbers on Broad Peak, the world's 12th highest mountain. 9 others were also killed. Prince William has said he's truly saddened to hear of his tragic death, adding he served with distinction before becoming one of the world's greatest mountaineers. Those are your latest headlines. Let's get back to Alex.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
£85 million to teach migrants English. That's all coming out of the budget that's meant to help British people find jobs. You just can't make it up. It's a scheme to help unemployed British people to gain qualifications like maths GCSEs is now being used instead for language courses being provided to foreigners who already live in this country. 76,000 foreigners received the lessons which taught basic English language skills, while London alone spent an astounding £76.9 million delivering lessons to 64,900 migrants or foreigners, whatever you want to call them. Money that should be spent on getting British people into work is being spent on immigrants learning the basics of a language they should already speak before being allowed to come to Britain. We are getting completely fleeced, aren't we? So who gets this cash splashed on them then? Well, asylum seekers qualify after 6 months. Even those with rejected claims stay eligible while they go through their appeal. And get this, visa holders who are banned from claiming benefits can also still get this funding. But the important bit there, let me just repeat that, visa holders can get this funding. Why do they have visas if they can't speak English? It's one of the requirements to come and work here. Many are tested for their ability to speak English or must hold an English qualification. It doesn't add up, does it? Meanwhile, your kids and your grandkids are being saddled with tens of thousands of pounds of university debt to pay for their education. And the youth unemployment, well, that's exploded to its highest in decades under Labour in the recent months, hasn't it? It's all a big joke, isn't it? It's a massive joke that your money's being spent this way. There's now a government expectation that a proportion of this skills budget goes on this English for Speakers of Other Languages programme. What a nice way to put it. Cambridgeshire and Peterborough spent £1.8 million taxpayer pounds on 2,250 learners and are now finally reviewing the funds. They've got all this money, haven't they, all of a sudden, these authorities, these broke authorities. The Department for Work and Pensions say it's only right that people who are legally in this country can integrate into society, progress and work and contribute to the economy. So they admit it. These people here aren't even meeting the minimum threshold of speaking our language. Do you know what I do? Just send them back. Save us the 85 million quid. How about that? If you can't speak English, how are you actually working here? All of this while British job seekers are waiting for the training that gets them off benefits. Another bill that's exploded for taxpayers in this country. Well, their funding is being diverted to teach foreigners the language they should have already known before they arrived here in the first place. If you can't speak the basics of our language, either you should pay for it or learn it before you get here, or just go home. This country's not a charity. We're broke as it is. If you don't have a job as well, you should leave. If you can't speak English, you shouldn't have been given a visa in the first place. This is common sense to thousands of countries around the world. I've got my panel here with me, Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham and political commentators Emily Hewitson and Andy Twelves. Emily, I'll start with you. just despair, because we know the tax bill is sitting at its highest since World War II. We're constantly scrapping around for millions to fund things like defence, billions now, but we're very willy-nilly. We're saying, well, it's kind of an admission from the government, really, that actually we're told, oh, these are these heavy requirements that you need to get into the country. Oh, but hang on a sudden, tens of thousands of people can't speak English all of a sudden.
What a waste of money. It's just absolutely outrageous. And I actually live in Tower Hamlets council borough, so I see firsthand quite how bad the problem of migrants that can't speak English is. Obviously, Whitechapel is a famous example, but actually, in the most recent mayoral elections, I received my polling card, and on the front of the polling card was a Bengali translation.
Of course.
So there are people in this country that have the ability to vote when they can't even read the words polling card. It is absolutely terrifying. It's a huge waste, and it's time to get very, very angry at this. Youth unemployment is at an all-time high. We really need to be putting that money into schemes that help our young people, my generation, to get jobs. And instead, we're having to teach people basics. Absolute basics. I would never dream of going to Spain and demanding that I get a job if I can't speak Spanish.
Yeah, Layla, I totally agree with you, Layla. What do you
agree with everything you say. Well, perhaps we're being taxed too much. There's obviously a lot of money going around. You know, if there's enough money for that, there's enough money to send abroad to foreign aid. You know, maybe it's time for a tax cut and to stop all this, because it's obviously not a question of limited amount of funds. It's a question of priorities. And I think people see that. You say, Andy?
No, sorry, I had some spittle in my mouth. I was trying to breathe. Sorry, I was just trying to breathe. No, I wasn't touching you like that. No, I was just trying to breathe. Sorry.
I just think. So we're letting people in who don't speak English, but obviously we are, because we're letting illegal migrants, they claim asylum, they become a refugee, and they're housed in Tower Hamlets or wherever, and they don't speak English. And you're right, it's quite easy to not speak English and get a job there.
But even the requirements under this is the funny thing about it all, Andy, is, and I've been to places where there's people who I try to interview, they tell me they can't speak English, but they seem to be working, and I think to myself, but part of the visa requirement for you to work, surely if you've come here as a foreigner, I would then assume you can't speak the language, part of that requirement is that you do speak English to a certain degree or to a certain level. So it says to me something is wrong there, something's not adding up to me.
So I just wanted to pick up on something Emily said there, because famously no British person has ever gone and lived in Spain and, not spoken Spanish fluently, of course, famously. No, I think, there were a couple of things that I picked up in your monologue there, Alex. This was, 85 million, give or take, total spend. The Adult Skills Fund, of which it took from, is 1.4 billion. And that in itself is part of a wider 4 billion of adult skills spending. So this is, really, really, really pennies on the pound here. Only asylum seekers...
It's still 84 million quid.
Work with me here, work here with me.
I hear what you're saying, but it's still 84 million quid.
Asylum seekers who have been registered here for 6 months can get it. But you said people on visas can. Only people on the BNO visa. So those are the Ukrainians, the people from Hong Kong, the 3,000-odd Afghanistanis. These aren't people who are on work, tourism or student visas cannot access this funding. And to be honest, out of 4 billion quid, if we're looking at 85 million for asylum seekers and BNO visas, who I'm sure everyone on this panel agrees that the BNO visa scheme and the relocation schemes for those in Hong Kong and Ukraine was the right thing to do. I think 85 million to make sure that they can speak basic English when we talk about integration actually is not a waste of money. And the other, 3.9 billion in that adult skills provision can be spent on British people. I don't think that's, if you take it out of the context, it looks bad. I think in the context, it's, fair enough.
I'm not so worried about people who've come here from Ukraine and who are asylum seekers and refugees are being taught English. What I'm worried about is the priority of jobs, particularly when we're really struggling at the moment. The economy is sort of stagnant. Unemployment is rising gradually, almost quarter on quarter. Youth unemployment is rising. That the funds we're spending on it, 85 million quid to train 70,000 people, is an astonishing amount of money. Yeah. And I think the problem people have these days is that they don't. Of course, no one's going to go, oh well, no one. We shouldn't teach migrants who are refugees here English. That's not really what I'm angry about. I'm angry about the misappropriation of money that goes into it and actually where the burden of this all lies. And I think this is the point, Emily, is that taxpayers feel ripped off. They feel like they're getting fleeced. And actually what I want to do is to see the government prioritise money where it's being pushed, it's been assigned to job seekers. Let's help people who can work actually get to work. We've got AI, which is sucking up all these graduate jobs. We could be spending 85 million training a bunch of young people how to become developers, coders, AI engineers, engineers, that sort of stuff. And I worry that actually our priorities are not to British people anymore.
Yeah, exactly, and we have the highest tax burden since 1945, and I just don't feel like people, especially working people that go out into their jobs, work really hard to provide for their family, feel like they're getting good value for money from the services that they are essentially paying for. And it's quite simply often because we're subsidising those that are exploiting the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, if there's any money left over, perhaps we can have a look at it. If they are Ukraine, I mean, I agree with you that you should spend money to help Ukrainians and people who are here legally through a system in Hong Kong to learn English. But the article said that it was also people whose visas have expired and that they're meant to leave. They still get it. So it definitely needs to be. Now, I find it unacceptable, personally.
I mean, I agree if people are, using it if they're on extended visas. But most of this, it's still the fund. That Adult Skills Fund is 1.4 billion. There's 85 million as part of that. And then it's the wider 4 billion package. Like, I think it's unfair to say that British people are being left out or ignored when 99% of it is being used. But like, if we actually look at the facts, because people like you keep telling them that they are. If you actually look at the facts, 4 billion versus 85 million. I mean, come on, really.
Do you not think there's like a better way? I just feel like, I mean, I think the problem is that I think there's probably, I think the amount that amount of money is an astounding amount of money for
it's part of that
people.
I mean,
right? I think that's what it is, right? And I think it's. First of all, I mean, there's councils. We'll read that out in a second. There's authorities that are reviewing this spend now, but because it's an astonishing amount of capital, and also people's council taxes are going up. I've got Mary here saying, "I want to know, as a pensioner, what are they doing to help me?"
Well, the triple lock is what they're doing.
Well,
Mary.
you
come
can
on
make
now.
that argument, but they'll say the triple lock really isn't that much money for them every month. And I know many pensioners live on the breadline, and I think this is the feeling people have is that I mean, I want the money to go to help young people, particularly young people. I know how 10,000 graduate jobs this year. That is absolutely appalling. We are going to have a massive crisis if young people in this country can't get into work. And I just feel like 85 million, yes, could be spent a lot better by the government when they're thinking about this, training only 70,000 people to speak English.
Young people are really being fobbed off constantly by the government, and it really, really annoys me. Not only can many of them not get jobs, even the one with jobs, we're not in a position where we can afford to buy our own homes in the same way that our generations before us were granted that luxury.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it, and that's why I'm so keen on looking at the immigration system, for example, because it's how we're going with immigration just simply isn't sustainable, and it's young people that constantly have to bear the brunt.
Those young people are going to be the ones that are paying off the borrowing costs that we're using to spend a lot of this money, and they're also saddled with tens of thousands of pounds. Some of them have got astonishing university debts.
I haven't even looked at mine.
I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't because they're going to get taxed at almost effectively a 70% rate in the future, Layla. We're forgetting about this whole generation of young people, and they're looking at it and going, do you know what? What's the point?
Exactly.
I'm leaving. I'm out of it. And
Or
we're
they
seeing
turn
that
to
happen.
socialism.
Yeah. Yes.
So they're like, I've tried. I'm working hard. I'm doing everything I can. I just get poorer and I can't afford a home and there's no hope. So you know what? I'm going to sit back and let the government do it.
It almost sounds like capitalism is a broken system and socialism is the answer. It does somewhat seem like that. I think, we do talk about NEETs, we talk about young people. This is genuinely for young people. The adult skills provision, the adult skills fund is exactly what it's for. It's so, you can get a technical skill if TV doesn't work out for you. You can go and get a recognised, level 2 apprenticeship so you can go into a trade. Like, that is exactly what it's for, which is, everyone agrees, that is a good thing.
The debate is that it's not being used for that.
Well, 85 million out of the 1.4 billion.
Still,
come on.
I know. Well, and I think that's my argument is that 85 million. But it sounds like, I mean, yes, you're putting it in the context of 4 billion, but 85 million to a lot of people would be a lot of money. And I think that is yes, it's an astounding amount of money to train a very small group of people. Imagine if you spread out some 85 million to 70,000 students, and you could clear some of their debts off, or you could help them repay.
Jeremy Corbyn did promise to get rid of student debt, but we all poo-pooed him. So,
yeah. But look, the problem with socialism, man, is you end up running out of other people's money. You do need some people to work to pay for the socialist policies, and that is the issue here, right?
Yeah.
But we won't get into a debate.
I'll let you have that dunk. I'll let you have the dunk.
All right. Look, a Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority spokesman said this. Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority funding for ESOL is currently under review against the Mayor's wider skills funding goal of supporting more people into jobs. There's been a government expectation that a proportion of our skills revenue budget should be used to support ESOL, prompting the Mayor's review. A Department for Work and Pensions spokesperson also said, we recognise that local authorities have a clear understanding of the skills needed for local people and employers, which is why we're expanding our devolution plans to bring forward funding decisions to those who know their community best. And a spokesman For the Mayor of London said. The Mayor is committed to supporting the skills and education sector and recognises the importance of English language courses, which he believes help to promote integration and lead to positive outcomes. And you wonder why I don't talk very often on these shows. Time now for a Great British giveaway and a sure chance to win 60 grand in tax-free cash and a 5 grand gold bar.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our Golden Summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, as Labour celebrate victory in Manchester, a pollster's going to be joining me to dissect why the results could mean the right would lose the next general election and how they might avoid that. That's coming up next.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Labour's Bev Craig has been elected the new mayor of Greater Manchester, succeeding Andy Burnham, who's become Prime Minister now. Who's dubbed her now the Queen of the North.
A huge thank you to the wonderful people of all the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester who have backed what we've been building here for many, many years.
Let's not tell that to Andy Burnham's wife. There's a king and the Queen of the North now. There we go. Analysis of voting does seem to expose an issue for the right of British politics, though, doesn't it? Firstly, when the Tories and Restore were knocked out, Reform picked up 45,000 votes, whereas the Lib Dems and the Greens were eliminated. Labour won 58,000. Tories just don't see themselves aligned with Reform, do they? It's clear the left-wing bloc was much more united than the right-wing bloc. So is all this proof that those on the right are unaware of or unwilling to vote tactically to keep the left out? Well, joining me now is data scientist at the Electoral Calculus, Marwan Reich, as well as my panel, of course, here in the studio. Marwan, love to have you here in the studio. What should we learn from the right-wing vote in Manchester?
Well, thanks for having me on, Alex. So what we saw in the Manchester by-election that took place on Thursday was that the left-wing bloc is much more solid than the right-wing bloc. And let me just explain what I mean by that. So if we call the left-wing bloc in that election as being the sum of the Labour vote, the Lib Dem vote and the Green vote, and we take the right-wing bloc to be the Restore vote, the Conservative vote and the Reform vote, then that election that took place on Thursday had a new voting system. Or rather, it was a restoring of the old system that conveniently took place just before that Manchester by-election. And what we saw there was second preference votes were allocated to Labour, and 72% of the left-wing bloc who didn't back Labour voted for them, compared to 52% for the right-wing bloc.
Interesting.
So if we wanted to test the waters as to how likely the smaller right-wing parties are willing to back a stronger right-wing party, that's a pretty good straw in the wind.
Yeah, the right don't seem to want to unite behind a candidate. Is this a moral issue? I mean, maybe it's a difficult question to ask you if you've polled this at all, but I guess what people would like to know is if there was a general election tomorrow and it's a first preference vote and then they're looking at the lay of the land, because there's no second preference vote when you have a general election, it's just one vote and that's it. Now, when they look at some of the marginal seats around the country, people voting tactically on the right is going to be critical if the right are going to win an election. But they don't do this, do they? The left do this very, very well, but the right don't do that.
Well, I mean, I had a look at the tactical voting websites online, and what was very clear to me was that there were about 7 or 8 tactical voting websites on the left. So the one that stood out amongst them was tacticalvote.co.uk. It might be a very neutral domain, but actually it's deliberately targeted to oust or stop right-wing parties from winning. There is a recent website that's been launched called unitetherightuk.com, which looks at, takes what the left have done and tries to apply it to the right wing, but I could only find one website that did that.
And I've been on that website. It's really incredible to see if there was 100% right-wing tactical voting, the landslide for the right that there would be, even with the strong numbers there are today. And I want to open this up to my panel here. Layla, I guess the difficulty is, I know you're a Reform candidate, so there's only so much you'll say. But the reality is, if the right are now split 3 ways, the right in British politics have only ever won on one ticket. And there's got to be a point in time where perhaps the 3 of you all go, how are we going to do this? Is there? Or are you going to fight it out to the death?
I don't think it's up to us. I think it's up to the voters. And it's up to Reform to gain more. We've got to do better. And I don't think it's up to us to do backroom deals. We're not Labour, we're not Conservatives. The only way to win an election is to win the public's vote. That's the only vote that counts, and there'll be no backroom deals. And we will do everything we can to win enough to win a general election.
Emily, what do you make of that?
But surely you understand that there are some seats in the country that Reform will never win, so you could help Conservatives out by pulling candidates in those seats. And I'm very in favour of Conservatives doing the same back, because I find that there's a lot of arrogance on both Reform and Conservative side. I think at the end of the day, there's not an appetite for a left-wing government, but unless you guys get in a room together and talk it out and realise that you want to defeat socialism and you want to defeat the left, we're going to continue having elected left-wing governments.
Emily, what do you define as socialism? The highest taxation since World War II, soft on crime, no home ownership, businesses shutting down. That is what the Tories brought in, mass immigration. So, hang on, you talk about, sorry, with all due respect, you talk about, fighting socialism, but I would argue with you that the Tories operated as a semi-socialist government. But you talk about seats that we could never win. With all due respect, the Tories polled at less than Restore in Manchester, 2% in Gorton and Denton, and I think, was it 2 or 3% in Makerfield? You can only win in tiny pockets in affluent areas in the country. That is it. The Tory party, you're like the Lib Dems.
They are tightening. The polls are tightening. There was one point in time Reform were saying that they're going to win it all, and now you're saying that you need to do...
Sure, but the only poll that matters is the election, right? And in every single election... You used to come second in Manchester.
Yeah.
You were fifth.
But I think, to be fair, I think a lot of Conservatives weren't stupid and did actually lend their result. Right. But would you be in a coalition? At the end of the day, if push came to shove, to keep Labour out, would Reform be in a coalition with the Conservatives? You can pretend all you want, but I know that you would.
Because the Conservatives did not govern as Conservatives.
Reform had quite a lot of socialist policy.
This is a really good debate, but we will have this another time. But I want to just push this back there, because that there's an interesting tidbit there that Restore polled and got more votes overall in the first preference round than the Tories did. Yep. Previously, in that last, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2019, the Tories won 400,000 votes in that. So what has changed on the right?
It's a good question. I think the loyalties in the northern seats that voted for Boris Johnson to get Brexit done wouldn't see themselves as natural Conservative voters, so therefore they probably loaned Boris their vote in 2019 to get Brexit over the line. What is quite stark, though, is how Restore has gone from nowhere to getting double digits in seats for local authorities like Tameside and Oldham. I wasn't up in Manchester during the by-election asking people how they were going to vote, but I saw quite a lot of social media output, didn't necessarily see much evidence of, heavy canvassing and strong operations. So I think a lot of what we're seeing with these new insurgent parties is much of their traction is now getting across via social media.
And did Reform do as expected in this mayoral race? Were they expected to do better?
It was within the margin of error. I think Labour absolutely smashed it. So they got 47% of first preference votes, and they were only set to get about 42. So, not wildly more than what we would have expected, but they really squeezed the Greens. And we saw that result that result was very pronounced in Wigan, where Andy Burnham, who is now the MP for Makerfield, which is in the Wigan constituency, the Greens got their worst result across Greater Manchester in that borough alone, which would suggest that Burnham bounce has carried over.
Andy, what do you make of this? This is a bit of a new world all of a sudden. We're like, what was it, a year since Labour have led the polls, should I say? Is the Burnham bounce forever? Do you think he can maintain it? Because it is it's a bit of a cult of personality at the moment, if we're being honest, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, nothing's forever, is it really? No, I think it's been quite fortunate as he's come in and really, set a difference in tone, if nothing else, from Keir Starmer, that the Greens have had their own issues with Polanski and the T-shirt stuff, and, Farage just has his ongoing issues, with, Posh George and the Times and all the rest of it. And, we've seen I think it's pretty good that we're winning in Manchester, but I'd be extremely shocked and disappointed if we didn't win in Greater Manchester, even, at this margin. But I think, as a lay member of the Labour Party, I don't hold an elected position. A lot of comrades of mine saw Zach Polanski when Keir Starmer was a bit of a dud and went off because he's good and he's entertaining, and some of his videos are pretty sound. And I think this step change in comms, in energy, people felt really, really hopeful at the Makerfield by-election that I just didn't see in the general. So I think there is just quite literally vibes that have changed.
Marwan, I'll just pass this back to you then, because this is all very reminiscent of the May to Boris change in feeling. I mean, there was no real reform. There was the Brexit Party, of course, who decided to stand down against Boris. We don't know how they would have fared, of course, at that period. It's very difficult to say. It's very reminiscent. Boris had a massive bounce and then a massive landslide election. But Andy Burnham saying he's not going to call an election. How would they do today if there was one?
So at the moment, further to your point, so there has been a Burnham bounce. It hasn't been sky high, though. So they're only leading Reform now in the polls by about 1% on average. Now, that may increase, but...
it's only been 2 weeks.
It has only been 2 weeks, but a week is a long time in politics.
True.
So I think 2 weeks is probably enough time for voters to make up their immediate mind. But if we look at what Keir Starmer got in 2024, so he scored a vote share of 34%. Be interesting to see if Andy Burnham can get over that at any point during his premiership.
Right.
I've got another, I want to say prediction.
We love a prediction.
We do.
Go on. We love a prediction.
So they changed the voting system in Greater Manchester so it was a single transferable vote.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that rather than call a general election, what Andy Burnham may do is actually change the first-past-the-post system altogether and introduce STV on a UK parliamentary constituency level.
So the same system that's being used in Manchester?
Correct, rolled out across every constituency.
Is that like France? Is that like France?
Subtly different, because in France you have a first round and a second round.
Right.
I guess to save taxpayers' money, we'll just do it all in one round.
How would you feel about that, a single transferable vote? So the same system that was used in Manchester, first preference, then a second preference, and then those votes get combined?
I'm not sure. I have to...
I remember the days when Reform could barely hit 10%, and, all you'd hear would be Richard Tice going, we need PR, first past the post is a dud, now they're riding high at 28%. They love it so much.
Andy Burnham should not be able to make that sort of change without a mandate.
Would you welcome it?
No.
You don't like the idea?
I think first past the post is the best of a bad bunch.
OK, there we go.
Can I just make a point there, though? Might be the best of a bad bunch, but I don't think first past the post was intended for six-party politics.
There you go. There you go. Maybe it's all of our fault. It's all of our fault. Marwan, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. Great insights as ever. Next, all of Sunday's front pages, some big headlines coming in. I'm going to bring them all to you.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi there again, and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, after a few showers in the north on Saturday, Sunday promises to be a fine day for most. Lots of hazy sunshine, and it will be feeling much warmer for most of us. We saw a few showers coasting of this area of low pressure on Saturday, but otherwise we've got rising pressure as we go into Sunday, so very few ice bars on the chart, meaning lighter winds. Now, at about this evening, plenty of late sunshine for England and Wales. The showers across Scotland will also become increasingly confined to the very far northeast as we go through the night. So it will turn quite chilly in the countryside, particularly across England and Wales, where we might even see a touch of frost in rural parts of Wales and the Midlands. Temperatures in the towns and cities, though, largely holding up into the low teens. Further north, there'll be a bit more of a breeze still across more northern parts of Scotland, and that breeze will bring in still a fair number of showers to Shetland and Orkney. Otherwise, though, many parts of Scotland will begin the day on Sunday with a mixture of sunny spells and cloud, but largely dry. Hazy sunshine for Northern Ireland with the cloud thickening through the morning, but most of England and Wales starting off with blue skies, apart from one or two mist and fog patches which will quickly clear in the countryside. And then we're set for a fine day for many parts of the UK, one or two showers in the very far northeast of Scotland, and the cloud perhaps just thickening sufficiently to bring one or two spots of rain for Northern Ireland and the west of Wales by the end of the afternoon. But with that hazy sunshine, it is set to be a warmer day for most of us on Sunday. Temperatures widely in the mid-20s across England, eastern parts of Wales, and perhaps close to 30 degrees Celsius in the southeast of England. But it is set to turn more changeable overnight into Monday. Monday sees an area of rain pushing northwards across Scotland, possibly bringing some quite prolonged and useful amounts of rainfall to the east. Some scattered showers developing elsewhere too, possibly in England and Wales as well. One or two thunderstorms perhaps by the evening, and certainly a chance of some slightly heavier showers and a more humid and hot feel for many as we go through Monday and Tuesday before it turns cooler midweek.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong. So I forgot what show I was presenting for a second there. It's my one. I've got loads of front pages to bring you. Before we get started, I want to welcome Jane McIver to the panel. Layla's had to dip out a little bit early there. All right, let's get through the front pages. The Sunday Times. Farage struck deal to return as leader long before election. The Mail on Sunday. A migrant gasping for life. A Spanish enclave gripped by fear. If only the no borders utopians were with me now. The Sunday Telegraph. Healy. I will not allow supermarkets to rip you off. The Daily Star. Henry's killer mum moved over attack fears. And leading the GBnews.com website tonight, Spain's socialist leader posts soundtrack of summer, of my summer Instagram reel while migrants invade his country. I hope that's actually a pretty good one for GB News, that I will say that. All right, I've got my panel here with me, of course. I'll start with you. Welcome to the panel, Jamie. Look, we do have to start with the Sunday Times here. Farage struck deal to return as leader long before the election. Well, I'll just read a little bit of this here for you. Reform chief had insisted he was not involved in politics until Sunak called surprise 2024 vote. Nigel Farage struck a secret deal to return as Reform UK leader months before the election. Farage negotiated pact with Richard Tice, then leader. In March to April 2024, George Cottrell, the convicted fraudster, I'm reading this for the Times, by the way, who had been secretly bankrolling Farage, supervised the discussions. So this is a insight from the Sunday Times, basically alleging this story. I have to say alleged because we don't know whether it's true.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a really rubbish person to talk about this because as much as I feel like I'm an OG in reform, because I, first county councillor in Essex when I came over, and it was a really weird thing. It was, we weren't where we are in the polls now. We didn't have 2,300 councillors, control 34 councils across the country, have a load of MPs. So it's very weird for me to talk about this. It's just not a period that I was in reform. But what I would say, and as someone that speaks to people on a doorstep constantly, people are just so bored of this, Alex. They're just so bored of it. And all the people that want to talk about this stuff, the journalists that are so out of touch and want to talk about this stuff, my honest message is go and talk to real people. We've got people in the armed forces that can't put food on the table. We've got elderly people in this country that literally are being forced to downsize their home to pay for social care. We've got people in this country, single mums, that literally are driving their cars to school with the kids in the back, literally not sure if the car's going to make it to school because they can't afford to put petrol in until they get paid at 5 o'clock. Talk about the real problems. It's such boring, lazy journalists from a Westminster establishment that wants to just continue to attack reform because the reality is, when you put reform to the British people, when you put reform to the electorate, we win. We win in places we're meant to win.
Those polls are tightening, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, but then look at the real world. Look what just happened. The polls that matter are the elections. Look at May 2026. Look at May 2025. Where are the Tories?
Respectfully, you weren't saying that when you weren't winning elections, though. You were saying, look at the polls, look at the polls.
But where are the Tories?
Go on, Emily. What were you going to say about the story? Yeah.
So I was just going to say that, obviously, I do think that you have a point that there are more pressing issues in the world. But I think if this was about a Labour politician, Nigel Farage would be pushing in the same way. I think at the end of the day, the rules, the parliamentary declaration rules are there for a reason, in order to stop corruption, to stop political interference. So if he has broken them, then he does deserve to face consequences.
Andy?
Yeah, I suppose, you say look at the elections, look at Greater Manchester, I look at Caerphilly, I look at Gorton and Denton, I look at Makerfield. You haven't won any of them. You haven't won any of them.
It's been a disappointment.
You've had a run of by-elections where you've not won anything.
We have had, for a new party, most exceptional polling in all of those by-elections, increasing our vote share massively. And you know what? Always been the ones to beat the incumbent.
You still lost.
But we are for a new party. Where is the Tory party, which is meant to be the official opposition? His Majesty's opposition gets nowhere. Gets nowhere in these elections.
You didn't beat the
incumbent. Maybe for a bit of balance, just put this back to you, Emily. The Tories, who are the official opposition, should they not be where Reform is now? And at least Reform are consistently leading the polls there, at least the largest polled Conservative party. Is there something to be said about that?
I think it's unfortunate that the by-elections has happened in places where the Conservatives don't traditionally do well, so I don't think they're very much a fair representation. Obviously, Reform have massively outperformed the Conservatives in all of these, but if I was a Conservative in these seats, I would be for sure lending my vote to Reform. It makes sense in order to keep Labour out. So I don't think you can really use the by-elections, but at the end of the day, Kemi is the most popular political leader in this country.
Why is she losing? Norfolk by-election, just been battered.
Hang on, the polls are tightening and we are winning more and more.
Norfolk by-election, just now, Colin Sutton wiped the floor in the Tory heartland. The local elections in the Tory shires, Tories gone. Local elections last year, Tory shires gone. There is no progress.
Of course, the Norfolk Police and Crime Commissioner by-election, a truly interesting one, but unfortunately not on the front page of the Sunday Times, which I know you only just got here, but I'm not going to let you spin your way out of this one. This is really bad. If he was making deals with Richard Tice and the Treasurer in, March, April, May of 2024, so he was looking at getting back into politics, was saying that he was going to pay back Richard Tice's £1 million loan to the party, and then he went back into politics after he got that £5 million from the Thai billionaire. That completely invalidates the reason that he didn't declare it. He said the reason he didn't declare was because when he got the money, he was not looking at getting back into the politics, and this deal completely invalidates that argument.
Are you seriously suggesting that I'm supposed to sit here and go, oh, do you know, I've just read it on the front page of the Times, it must be true?
No,
well, I don't know.
Is that literally what?
I mean, it appears that your party leaders
and I think this goes back to my earlier point. The British people don't care.
The interesting thing about all this, and I was making this point earlier on, is that this report here suggests that this deal happened between March and April 2024. But here was Nigel Farage in May 2024 addressing Rishi Sunak, calling a general election.
You may be relieved to know that I'm not going to stand as a candidate myself. Why? 6 weeks isn't long enough to fight a constituency seat. The bad news, Mr. Sunak, is I'll be out round the country fighting, campaigning, appearing on media, supporting Richard Tice in absolutely every single way. Only Reform, in my view, has the agenda that can reverse our national decline.
So that was after what this report is alleging. So Nigel Farage at that point in time had decided not to stand. Of course, he did later on go and change his mind on that. I remember I called him out for it. I said he should stand at the time. So there's whether all of this lines up actually, or maybe this is a nothing story, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that little bit of information there when he did say he wasn't going to stand in May might invalidate what the Times is saying.
Well, it looks like he might have just lied.
Well, you could make that assessment if you want to. Yeah, you could certainly make that assessment if you'd like.
Well, if he was making the deal in March, April...
I think it would be a stretch for a politician to go out on video, on records, to say, I'm not going to do this, and then to backtrack on it. And this was quite a bit after. I don't know.
It's also a stretch to get down a deal that you were going to pay £1 million back to a guy in £200,000 instalments. I think, the legal deal that he was making probably invalidates the social media video he made.
I'll tell you what I will say, Alex. Thank God that Nigel Farage did stand for Parliament. Thank God that we have an opportunity to get rid of socialism in the next general election with a party like Reform UK. Thank God our country...
Is that what the Thai billionaire was saying when he gave him the £5 million quid?
Thank goodness Nigel's prepared to put his personal safety on the line to save our country. We owe him all. We all owe him. No, Nigel Farage is the most attacked politician and parliamentarian, and thank God he's prepared to do that rather than being retired.
Yeah, I respect Nigel.
OK, we've got to leave it there. Next, the rest of the front pages, including the Sunday Express. Fear's family will be hit by a £76,000 tax on death.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights. and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike. So he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Jo Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Jo's name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All right, some more front pages. Let's start with the Observer. Own goal, they're saying here. This is, of course, Gianni Infantino. He's on the rope. Sounds like he might even get the sack. Gianni, as Donald Trump calls him. The Sunday Express fears family will be hit by a £76,000 tax on death. The Sunday Mirror. I'll help families in need, and it's exclusive here with Andy Burnham. The Sun on Sunday, TV giants dumped me over OnlyFans. I've just really into this one because I don't know anything about this, so it's fascinating. He didn't dump her through OnlyFans, dumped her because she's on OnlyFans. I think we'll have a little chat about it in the break and see what we can report back to you here. But look, let's talk about the Observer. One point, we don't really do this paper very often, do we, on the Sunday, because it's usually just a picture story. But Gianni Infantino, what a man. He's only newish to the job as far as I understand. He was trying to sell off parts of the World Cup, Emily. Looks like he might even be getting the sack himself.
Finally, a good news story. Honestly, it's been really depressing to watch the over-commercialisation. I think we saw it quite clearly at the recent World Cup. I think, you know, football should be about football, and to see it kind of be lost to big corporations is really, really sad to see. So I think this is a good story. And I'm also very interested to see what his sanctions will be for Argentina after they obviously did the political banner around the Falkland Islands, because there seems to be a lot of double standards and corruption. So I think that's one to look out for too.
Yeah, I think this story unites the country, actually, Andy.
Yeah.
I think this is a unifying moment.
So I think the World Cup, I really enjoyed the expansion of the World Cup. Like Cape Verde, I think were even though, you know, they didn't get very far, I think they were the standout team for me, and they would have never, you know, got the opportunity to play at the world level, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. But then also, you know, the ticket prices and the accessibility of the stadiums and the conditions that a lot of the teams had to go through flying back and forth across the countries, I just think it was a bit of a disaster. You know, it's somehow... You thought it would be impossible to have a worse FIFA president than the last one, but somehow he has, you know, really stepped up to the plate. UEFA put the boycott on, you know, there were 55 delegates at FIFA, so I just can't imagine him surviving a no-confidence vote, to be honest.
Yeah, this is it, Jamie. I think we'd all like to see the back of this man. I think what did it for me was the red card, the situation with Donald Trump, where he was basically handing the American, because he got on the phone to Donald Trump, and it was just ridiculous.
I mean, all of that, yeah, but I mean, to be honest with you, I think FIFA made the same mistake mistake that a lot of actually decent businesses have made. They've gone so woke. They've just played into this sort of.
They gave Donald Trump the FIFA Peace Prize. What are we doing?
Not in that scenario. But I mean, I look at the Qatar one, where they're going on all about pride, and they go and do it there. I just think they've just become one of those organisations that have tried to please too many people, and it always catches up with you in the end. You've got to have conviction in life. And in football, that should just be playing the ball and the best team winning. Unfortunately, it's all been very muddied.
It has, and I just don't think this guy has... I mean, what a disaster. I mean, he just kept on stepping in it. I mean, I know UEFA can talk, because they had that whole Super League thing, didn't they, they wanted to do? European. So, yeah, do you remember that? It's just like, you guys aren't all very good, they're making them... So UEFA's trying to redeem itself here, but there we go. Look, there's a whole load more to bring you tonight on the show. I've got loads of interesting front pages. I might have to read them out to you, actually. I probably will in a minute. But if you stay with me, I will bring them all to you on Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. But first, let's have a little look at the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there again, and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, after a few showers in the north on Saturday, Sunday promises to be a fine day for most. Lots of hazy sunshine, and it will be feeling much warmer for most of us. We saw a few showers courtesy of this area of low pressure on Saturday, but otherwise we've got rising pressure as we go into Sunday, so very few ice bars on the chart, meaning lighter winds. Now, out and about this evening, plenty of late sunshine for England and Wales. The showers across Scotland will also become increasingly confined to the very far northeast as we go through the night. So it will turn quite chilly in the countryside, particularly across England and Wales, where we might even see a touch of frost in rural parts of Wales and the Midlands. Temperatures in the towns and cities, though, largely holding up into the low teens. Further north, there'll be a bit more of a breeze still across more northern parts of Scotland, and that breeze will bring in still a fair number of showers to Shetland and Orkney. Otherwise, though, many parts of Scotland will begin the day on Sunday with a mixture of sunny spells and cloud, but largely dry. Hazy sunshine for Northern Ireland with the cloud thickening through the morning, but most of England and Wales starting off with blue skies, apart from one or two mist and fog patches which will quickly clear in the countryside. And then we're set for a fine day for many parts of the UK, one or two showers in the very far northeast of Scotland, and the cloud perhaps just thickening sufficiently to bring one or two spots of rain for Northern Ireland and the west of Wales by the end of the afternoon. But with that hazy sunshine, it is set to be a warmer day for most of us on Sunday. Temperatures widely in the mid-20s across England, eastern parts of Wales, and perhaps close to 30 degrees Celsius in the southeast of England. But it is set to turn more changeable overnight into Monday. Monday sees an area of rain pushing northwards across Scotland, possibly bringing some quite prolonged and useful amounts of rainfall to the east. Some scattered showers developing elsewhere too, possibly in England and Wales as well. One or two thunderstorms perhaps by the evening, and certainly a chance of some slightly heavier showers and a more humid and hot feel for many as we go through Monday and Tuesday before it turns cooler midweek.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, the front pages are a bit of a treat today. Lots of variety here. Let's start with the Mail. They've got a picture here of migrants laying on the beach, gasping for life, a Spanish enclave gripped by fear. That, of course, is what has been going on there next to Morocco in Ceuta. I think the correct pronunciation of it is. We'll get into that story tonight as well. John Healey saying he won't allow supermarkets to rip us off. Is that more state intervention? Do we need more of that? Badenoch security officer was a knife-wielding fantasist. Some interesting stuff there. And Henry Novak's killer's mother has been moved over attack fears. Apparently she's in a cushy wing at the prison of Lucy Letby. That's all coming up next.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's late edition. Well, the striking front page of the Mail here. 2 migrants who had just arrived on the beach at Ceuta collapsed at the feet of a Spanish soldier. It's a powerful image of that latest bout of the migrant crisis over there. Also,
you may be relieved to know that I'm not going to stand as a candidate myself. Why? 6 weeks isn't long enough to fight a constituency seat.
well, that was Nigel Farage a day after Rishi Sunak called a general election in May 2024. But the Sunday Times is reporting that he struck a deal to return as leader of Reform months before the general election. The Daily Star. Elsewhere, of course, they're saying this, the reports of Henry Novak's killer's mother has been moved to a different wing, and she might even be rubbing shoulders with one of the Britain's most dangerous women, apparently. And in the Telegraph, his first major comment since being appointed Chancellor, John Healey's promising the public will not be punished when they go to the supermarket. I don't know what all that means. What does that mean? He says he won't allow them to take people for a ride. And the Express here, an interesting couple of front pages as well. Let me move out the way. Oh, wrong way. There you go. Families are going to need help, says Andy Burnham. But on the Express there, they're saying fears that we'll be hit by 76,000 tax on death. So which one is it? Which one? Are we going to punish them or are we going to